Regional financial institutions are worried about the imminent threat posed by the loss of international banking partners. This threat, known as correspondent banking, could affect the flow of remittances to the region. More from Peter Gay Coombs.
CARICOM leaders wrapped up their 37th Heads of Government meeting at the Pegasus Hotel in Ghana last Wednesday, with a final day dominated by marathon caucuses and plenary sessions. Included at the top of the agenda, of course, the threat posed by the withdrawal of correspondent banking relationships by financial institutions in the United States and Europe, inciting the reputational risks posed by possibly facilitating the funding of criminal organizations and the need to comply with international regulations. The correspondent banks have put some Caribbean banks on notice that they could implement de-risking policies. CARICOM says these de-risking policies, which will stymie the international transactions of regional banks, are discriminatory and counterintuitive to good public policy. A correspondent bank provides services on behalf of another bank, such as wire transfers, deposits, and other transactions. Jamaica, Antigua, and Belize have confirmed that some local banks are already being affected by de-risking. Only this week, Bank of America told Ghana that as soon as August, it would end its correspondent banking relationship with local banks. A conference to explore the impact and resolutions to avert the loss of correspondent banking relationships is being organized by CARICOM. The man in charge of CARICOM's correspondent banking lobby is Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown.
We hope to have a stakeholder conference here in the Caribbean, hopefully before the end of the year, in which we could invite the corresponding banking officials as well as the responding banks officials, the regulators, policymakers, individuals who operate various NGOs, to include charities, to bring the various stakeholders together, even central bankers, so that we can address the issues and to appeal to the regulators in those countries as well as the corresponding banks that there are some significant unintended consequences that could literally result in a degradation in living standards of Caribbean people.
St. Lucian Prime Minister Alan Chastany says the correspondent banking crisis requires a concerted lobby effort similar to that undertaken by the region to overcome the UK's air passenger duty tax APD.
We had a very successful campaign with the UK on APD, in which we put together an incredible lobbying effort. And I believe that the time has come, and it is calling for us to put together a more effective lobbying approach towards corresponding banking. We must stop thinking that we have to solve this problem alone. Think of the number of multinational companies in the United States of America, airlines, cruise industries, suppliers, individuals who own their homes, who have a vested interest in our region, and who know exactly how to lobby their governments. The idea of us going to Washington, D.C. by ourselves is a tried and tested failure. We must be able to bring more people to the argument, and we must do it urgently.
Prime Minister of Jamaica Andrew Holness says the correspondent banking threat could block the region from the rest of the world, but he's convinced that CARICOM's lobby efforts will gain traction. He's also proposing a reward system for countries who have introduced the necessary legislation and mechanisms to ensure transparency in their local financial systems.
And I believe that we have advanced on this matter in terms of agreeing that we should seek to lobby directly the U.S. government and to increase our voice in various international fora, and indeed to enlist the support of friendly countries in our behalf. At the same time, we must make the point that those countries who are complying should be rewarded and should not face the threat of a correspondent bank pulling out. I think that reason will prevail. Our voice needs to be a little louder so that the people who matter and who can change the decisions hear us.
Peter Gay Coombs for CEEN Caribbean News.